See, there are a lot of Android phones that we want in India, the Zenfone, the Mi Mix Fold, the Surface devices, but if there's one Android flagship that I, as an Android fan, genuinely miss in India, it has to be this. This is a flagship phone that brings super unique features that you don't generally see in flagship phones in India, be it the iPhones, the Samsung flagships, the Pixels, the Xiaomi flagships, anything else. Now, you must have guessed that this is Sony's flagship phone of 2023, the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V. And first of all, let's take a look at the design because that too is really unique and yes, unique features. I mean, this is the phone in all its glory and it's probably the most grippy phone I've ever used. It's got a Gorilla Glass Victor's back with a matte finish and this really nice and detailed texture that you've probably seen in some Sony cameras. Even the aluminium frame has this very unique texture that makes the phone very grippy to hold. Also, I like the fact that the camera bump here is not huge, it's very minimal unlike most phones in 2023, and this has a 21:9 aspect ratio on the front, which makes holding the phone way easier compared to most modern day flagship phones. Now, this design is very premium, very different. It has the flagship features like the IP65 and IP68 rating, wireless charging support along with reverse wireless charging, and this has got 3 design features that you don't see in most flagships. Number 1, this has a 3.5mm audio jack that supports high-res audio. So I can use any earphones without even a DAC to experience high-res audio files, and this is really good. Second, this has a SIM slot that's super unique. I mean, it's a hybrid slot and that means it supports microSD cards, but that's not the cool part. What's cool is that you can just open up the SIM slot like this. Yeah, no more SIM ejectors that everyone just loses after a while. Now, third cool feature is this 2-stage camera button that has this really nice texture and is very useful. I mean, remember the good old Nokia days when phones had this camera shut button? Yeah, this works exactly the same. Step 1 is for focus and step 2 is for capture, and this makes the whole camera experience a lot better. You feel like you're using a proper camera phone and also helps you take photos faster. Now, one area where you might feel that this phone is a little outdated is the front. It's got these bezels on the top and bottom that don't really scream 2023, but they're there for a reason. Now, I'll get to that, but first let's talk about this display because this is also really unique. So this is a 6.5-inch OLED display, but what's insane is that this is a 4K display and it looks incredible. And watching 4K videos on display is a next level experience, especially with how well tuned this display is. I mean, I can even zoom in on a 4K video and I can still see all the details. Now, YouTube supports 4K HDR on the phone and so does Prime Video, but Netflix doesn't, which is a little bit of a bump. Anyway, that apart, I'm sure you're wondering, 4K display on a phone, won't that drain the battery real quick? Well, the truth is, this is set to 1080p by default and it only switches to the 4K resolution when you're watching 4K videos on supported apps and when you're in the Photos app and viewing high-res photos or 4K videos. Plus, I also like that there are 2 display modes. Standard is for punchy colors and this makes the screen look nicer but with low color accuracy, and there's creator mode for super accurate colors, 4K resolution and HDR with BT 2020 color gamut with 10-bit colors. There's also this white balance option to completely tune the colors in the display. Now, this is a 120Hz display and is smooth to use, but strangely, this is not an LTPO display, so no dynamic refresh rate. Now, as for the outdated looking front, this has the front camera on the top, but more importantly, this has dual firing stereo speakers that are really good. I mean, they're identical in size with the same loudness and quality, and that means this is one of the best speaker setups you can get on a phone. These speakers are loud, crisp in quality, and there's even some bass. Also, these have Dolby Atmos support, and turning it on actually makes the sound better. There's also Sony's AI audio upscaling feature called DSE Ultimate. There's 360-degree audio support for headphones, and there's spatial audio support too. So yeah, it's packed. And that's all. The haptics on this phone are also incredible, very flagshipy, and this has a dynamic vibration feature which you can turn on and gives you haptic feedback when playing music, which is surprisingly fun, and in line with the music you're playing, it's very cool. I mean, it's Sony, you kind of expect them to bring a good audio setup on their phones, and it's really good here. Now, what you also expect from Sony is to bring a camera experience that kind of reminds you of Sony cameras, and you need to check out the cameras on this phone. So let's get the specs out first. A 52-megapixel IMX888 sensor, which is the world's first stacked CMOS sensor with 2-layer transistor pixel technology. A 12-megapixel IMX563 ultra-wide-angle camera with dual-pixel autofocus, and a 12-megapixel IMX650 telephoto camera which can continuous optical zoom between 85mm f2.3 aka 3.5x and 125mm f2.8 aka 5.2x. I mean, you can zoom from 3.5x to 5.2x seamlessly. In fact, if you look closely, you can see the movement in the telephoto lens. Yeah, the camera specs are insane, but what actually got me more excited is the camera app on this phone. The UI of the Photo Pro app is very similar to what you get on the Sony Alpha cameras, and you need to check it out. I mean, there's the basic mode, which is basically the usual default mode, but tapping here brings you all the modes that you see in a Sony Alpha camera. There's auto, which does not let you control things but shows you details like the shutter speed and ISO on the bottom. There's program auto, which lets you change the ISO, set the focus manually, change the white balance. Then there's shutter speed priority, which lets you change the shutter speed manually to capture, moving objects. There's manual exposure, which lets you control the shutter speed as well as the ISO. Yeah, these different modes give you complete control of the camera, and I love the haptic feedback that you get when controlling these different modes, but that's not all. There's even a separate app for pro video recording called Video Pro, which lets you manually adjust everything, and it's crazy how much control you get. And if you thought that's it, there's another app called Cinema Pro, which is even more advanced with more granular controls, color profiles, and a lot more. And it's not even just these pro apps, there's so many features here. I mean, you can shoot 4K 120 FPS video from all the rear cameras, and that means some really smooth videos. There's even an option for stereo mic recording videos along with an intelligent wind filter to reduce wind noise. And features apart, if you're wondering how's the camera quality, well, it is flagship grade. Most photos look very consistent exposure-wise, detail-wise, and I like that every single photo, be it from the main camera, the ultra-wide-angle camera, or even telephoto camera, have a very natural tone all around. You get an idea that you're taking photos from a very serious camera phone. And it's the same with videos too. They're stable, have a natural color tone, and there's very good detail. Yeah, these cameras are good. Now, cameras apart, the rest of the phone has flagship specs. It's powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, 512 GB of UFS 4.0 storage, and 12 GB of fast LPDDR5X RAM. The battery is also 5000 mAh, which is really good considering this phone weighs only 187 grams and has a sleek profile at 8.3 millimeters. And software-wise, this has a very stock Android-like experience. But what's strange is that this comes with Android 13, and Sony only promises 2 major updates, which is pretty bad for a flagship phone. That apart, though, I can tell you that I've been looking at Sony phones launching all across the world, not in India, and I've been wanting to try them out. And now that I've used the Sony Xperia 1 Mark V, I can tell you that I'm not disappointed. This is one interesting smartphone. I mean, it looks like nothing else out there. The attention to detail everywhere is just incredible. It has features that you don't see in flagship phones in India, and the camera experience will blow you away if you like pro camera modes or if you've used the Sony camera, and overwhelm you if you're not a big camera guy. But either way, this is one exciting smartphone, and this just makes me wish for Sony to bring back its smartphones in India. I mean, Google too stopped launching its flagship phones in India back in 2019. The same year, Sony left the Indian smartphone market, and now Google is launching its flagship phones in India, so why can't Sony? Anyway, I want to know from you guys, do you want Sony Xperia phones back in India? Comment down below and let us know your thoughts. And thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.